I swear, going into something with low or high expectations really does make all the difference. Let's go. So where to begin? Not to discourage anyone that really wants to see this new movie Morbius, but it's currently rated at 17% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is not a good sign. But I am here to either confirm or deny if this movie is worth a watch. This review is spoiler free, however this movie is predictable because this script is super weak. This movie is pretty much an origin story for Dr. Michael Morbius, who suffered his entire life with a rare blood condition making him very physically weak, difficult to walk, and pretty much disabled. Many children and adults also deal with this rare disease. He's become a renowned scientist at a very young age, mostly known for creating artificial blood. This creation actually is symbolic to him because it ends up being his main source to survive. What I mean by that is that he knows his time on Earth is coming to an end, so he's doing anything he possibly can to find a cure for his disease. He literally dedicates his life to finding this cure, and he actually ends up finding a cure through experimentation with bat blood. However, like most experiments, something goes terribly wrong for him. The bat blood not only makes him function at a normal human capacity, such as walking, running, jumping, but even at greater lengths. All of a sudden, he's the most athletic person in the world. Now that might not sound terrible, but if he doesn't maintain a certain amount of blood intake, whether from artificial blood or human blood, then he becomes a raging blood-sucking vampire. He tries his best to fight the urge from getting blood from humans because he knows that's murder, obviously, but little by little, this artificial blood ain't doing it for him anymore. I mean, he's literally drinking these things like they're going out of style. I'm talking chugging straight up Capri Suns, Kool-Aid Jammers, back to back to back. Now, the villain in this movie, I could really care less. You could see him coming from a mile away. Unlike Morbius, who tries to remain ethical, when this new villain becomes a vampire, he don't give a damn where he gets his fix from. Anyone could get it, he don't care about the consequences. But now that the villain is piling up murders around the city, everyone thinks that Morbius is the killer. How these two resolve their conflicts, and if Morbius is even innocent or if he loses his powers, is something for you guys to watch for yourselves and find out. But now, is it worth going to the theaters to watch this movie? I would say, heck no. Probably stay away from it. This movie definitely could have been a streaming movie. It could have been a miniseries. I think many fans are frustrated with this movie because it got delayed so many times. And even me, myself, it got to a point where I was so tired of watching this damn trailer. The movie just did not live up to today's filmmaking standards. I mean, it looked like it was made 10 years ago with the lack of CGI, screenwriting, and editing. But now when it comes to the sound, such as the score, I actually thought it was decent. However, a lot of scenes didn't match the intensity of the music. The thematic score was more epic than the footage at times. Even the sound design was pretty good, such as when the vampire would slash someone. However, there was no gory, bloody scene that matched the gross sound. The graphics were not even gory at all for a vampire movie, and overall, it wasn't even that scary. I'm talking no jump scares, and that's coming from me, so you know that's saying something. There was this one cool hallway dramatic scene, like with these lights flickering. However, by the end of it, it was just super underwhelming. The action scenes were hard to follow along at times with all the CGI mess. Plus, every time they had a close-up on the vampires' faces, I just couldn't stop thinking about Michael Jackson. It's okay I made that reference. See, Mike is my favorite artist of all time. It's cool. We cool. He's the greatest.
On a magical journey. Yes, I would. Mr. Jefferson, you're so awesome.
To be honest, I didn't have a lot of favorite parts. However, the one part that did stick out to me is that when the vampires would be fighting each other, there would be this slow motion scene. I did think that was pretty cool. I also thought it was cool when Morbius would use his bat radar, such as using his senses. Like you would see his like freaking ear flicker, and it was a little strange at first, but it was pretty cool to see how he had those senses as powers. The pacing probably pissed me off the most because when a movie jumps from scene to scene so fast, it takes away from the character development. And then it leaves the audience not as attached to the characters. I mean, one minute we're here, the next minute we're there, and as an audience we're like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing. I'm not the biggest Jared Leto fan, however, his performance in this movie, in my opinion, was way better than him playing the Joker in Suicide Squad. Besides his performance in this movie, which I thought he did the best he could with what he was given, the rest of the cast just seems so bland to me. Not that it's the actor's fault, it's just no character depth. However, something about Tyrese in a dramatic role, it just bothers me for some reason. I don't know why, I just can't take him serious at times. He plays a detective, and they just come off so lame throughout the movie. I think for him, he's best when he's doing action comedy movies, such as the Fast and Furious franchise. I enjoyed Ardria Joyner's performance, however, her character was not utilized to its full potential, and by the end of the movie, you see it on screen, it is its own connection. Speaking of the end of the movie, the end credit scenes were just so lame and corny to me. It's getting to the point where like how they tie all these movies together is just coming off so obvious and predictable. And do not stay to the very end of the credits because there's no end credit scene at that point. The movie just ends. I would say that this movie is not as bad as the previous Fantastic Four movie, but it's also not as good as the previous Venom movies. I almost forgot to mention that this movie Morbius is actually tied to the Spider-Man universe. So if you love Spider-Man, this might be a movie you want to check out. But keep in mind, overall, this movie is bad, but it's a decent origin comic book movie. The movie lacks comedy and lacks horror. End result, it's just not that impressive. Some concepts of the movie were interesting, but just poorly directed and edited. Maybe if they pushed the runtime to 2 hours, then they would have a better opportunity to fix their pacing and script problems. I'm just glad this movie wasn't longer than how trash it was. But in the end, since I did go into this with low expectations, I'm not as annoyed as I should be, and therefore it was okay. Something I could put on in the background and care less. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. And if you want to see more, just subscribe. If you want notifications for new uploads, hit that bell icon. Also, if you could share this video with your family and friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.